So this is Michael Behrens on the Nalle Bunny Run on October 31st, 2020. And I'm here with Bill Carr, longtime Texas botanist. And we found an interesting grass called Sanddrop Seed.
Right here, Michael. Spirobolus pyramidatus. This one's a little bit easier to see some of the features, but it has an elongated triangle for shaped inflorescence, and the bottom of it is always kind of still contained within this sheath. So a lot of times you don't see the complete inflorescence, but they can go ahead and produce, the spikelets can still be fertile even when they're down inside the sheath. And it's something that you see primarily on sandy soils, not on the clayier soils that we have over Cretaceous limestone.
And the reason why we're here is because of sandy soils that we'll get to later. But down on the near the lake, we found a species that we'll get to later that's really like sandy soils. And I guess sandy soils are unusual in Travis County.
Yeah, a lot of times most of them are riverine basically, but they could be in different parts of the landscape. Sometimes the older ones, the Pleistocene river deposits, are on ridge tops, at the top of the landscape instead of along the current river.
Interesting.
So you'll be driving through live oak, juniper woodlands, and all of a sudden you hit one of these deposits, and suddenly the soil is sandy and gravelly, and there's post oaks and blackjack oaks and things like that you don't normally see here.
Interesting. So cool. So our first sand preferring species we've encountered then is the Sanddrop Seed, huh?
And I think I'm seeing it. I saw Eupatorium Drummondii. Where did he get off to? Here he is. This is another one, Michael. Eupatorium Drummondii, which would be, I think Texans used to call it nits and lice for some reason, but I think the USDA plants website has a more polite name for it. Where would nits and lice come from? It's from Eupatorium Drummondii.
So this is another sandy
Mostly,
soil species, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, you can find it on limestone occasionally, but consistently on sand. Atlantis polygonoides.
All right, well, we'll continue, see what we find, and be back a little later. So we found, we came upon this pile of feathers here, and when you see a bunch of feathers like this, it usually means the bird that owned them had encountered a predator. And there's no telling what predator got to it, but we can identify the bird. These colors are from a mourning dove, and you see that little dark spot at the end of this feather. That's one of the dark spots that you see on the back of the mourning dove that helps distinguish it from other species of dove, like the white-winged dove. So interesting. Probably this was where the first grab happened, and more than likely it was an aerial predator. And probably then the aerial predator, maybe a Cooper's hawk, maybe a sharpshin, took it away to some other location to eat it. Really cool.
Well, we're still developing a list of the grasses out here, but certainly one of the highlights is side oats grama. Nice 10-foot long patch, relatively easy to identify, native perennial, pretty grazing tolerant, and also the state grass of Texas.
So we're in a marshy area just downhill from the spring, And Bill Carr has found some really neat stuff down here.
If not neat, at least representative. The most common grass here is bushy bluestem, Andropogon glomeratus. But what's really exciting, for me anyway, are the sedges that are in here. There's a white top sedge, it's just about dormant. Rhynchospora colorata. And if this were fresh, these bracts at the top would have a nice conspicuous white spot at the base. But they're just a little dried out after this long year and drought season. But notice how much water is on the ground. It's just like a great big band of seepage. It's sort of coming out at one certain level and then dripping down slope a bit. And I wish we had been here in August to see this place when it had most of its flora in bloom, but we could still see some things like Bacopa monieri, a little creeping thing from the plantain family. Did have a little purplish flower in there, not too long ago, but just forms mats on the wet clay, soggy clay. And then the aptly named spade leaf, Centella erecta. It has a leaf that looks like a shovel, a long petiole and a cordate blade. A fine common name.
And looking downhill, you can see all the bushy blue stem, and then even one willow tree, showing that this is indeed a wet spot.
Here is a plant called velvet leaf mallow, and if you rub the leaves either side, there is felted with fine stellate hairs, really pleasant to touch. You can rub it on your face. And these simple leaves with a cordate base, a little heart shape or a little notch at the bottom where the petiole attaches, is a real common feature of mallows, the Malvaceae. And then you can see some of the fruiting characters. All the flowers have departed for the season and the fruits are persisting. And you can see that it had 5 sepals. Those little points are the tips of the sepals that occur at the bottom of the flower. 5 of them partially united. And then this has a capsule with 5 units, 5 carpels.
Is that typical of mallows?
That is typical of mallows. And then I think this may have had partially separated carpels, but I think they usually produce 2 seeds, but usually you can't tell that there was a septum in the inside. Maybe there isn't in this species, I can't quite remember. But just one of those great big beautiful mallows that you see every once in a while, usually in partial shade like this, widespread, but never very common wherever you find it.
Cool. Yeah, and these are in like you said, in the shade at the edge of the Nalle's family cemetery, where Anne Bird Nalle is buried. It was her wish to preserve this place.
That Michael brought me here to see. This is Yankee weed, or Eupatorium compositifolium or compositifolium. Big perennial colony forming with stems that can be 6 feet tall in certain places. And it's not uncommon at all from the global perspective, but it prefers to grow on sandy soil, which is hard to find in Travis County. But if you go down the river to Bastrop County, cross the county line into Bastrop County, where sandy soils are the norm, you'll see this every day. A member of the sunflower family has flowers that only have heads that only have disc flowers. They don't have any of the petal-like rays. And in the genus Eupatorium, which in the broad sense includes a lot of our best pollinator plants, the best things you could have around your yard to attract butterflies and bees and any other nectar seeker. And
and you said this is not a generally uncommon plant, but this is the first specimen that you know of in Travis County?
That's the first time I've seen it in Travis County. There aren't any herbarium specimens, but with your permission,
sure,
we will collect a specimen or two. I don't think it's going to hurt this population.
Oh, and I wish we could record smell, because I smell it now. It's all this big group is all in bloom, and you can see the sandy soil around it. Like Bill was saying, the reason it's growing here is because of the sandy soil, and there just aren't a lot of really big sandy spots in Travis County like this spot, Sandy Prairie here on the Nalle Bunny Run.
It's like a beach. We should have brought our towels.
All right, cool.